Well, Amendment 64 passed overwhelmingly in Colorado. We got 55% of the vote. We got 50,000 more votes than Barack Obama received in Colorado. So marijuana is more popular than Barack Obama, the president, in our state.
Our law firm was formed in May 2010 to work on medical marijuana issues. It was formed right after the law passed. And then we started writing the language for the ballot initiative that became Amendment 64 really shortly thereafter, June, July 2010.
I was a framer of the Amendment 64, so I helped draft it, commented throughout the process, and then on the campaign I was a strong supporter of it.
And then after the campaign ended, our law firm was the firm that was retained to do the government relations for statutory and regulatory implementation for the campaign.
Some of the supporters of Amendment 64 have created a coalition with many of the opponents of 64, most notably Attorney General John Suthers and Governor John Hickenlooper, both of whom campaigned quite actively against 64.
You know, I didn't think I'd be running another statewide campaign with my friends a year later. The interesting part is that it's our friends, but it's also mostly the people who said, we don't want this, that are on our campaign team now. Not quite the same chemistry as we used to have, I would say.
This community is definitely not a monolith. We have many disagreements within our community. You know, marijuana people are free thinkers. They're not herded together. We don't all sing from the same sheet of music, which is a healthy thing. It's a diverse community. And there are those of us who are come down on the side of freedom, less government, individual rights. I would put myself in that camp. And then there are others from the more traditional, progressive, liberal, big government sort of mentality in our movement. And that's great. We'll take those votes. I don't agree with them. And right now the issue is with taxation.
It's taxed from when it's grown. The person who grows it, there's a taxation event when it's transferred to either the stores for sale or to an infused products company to make, you know, brownies, other things like that. That tax is set at 15%. That was actually the language that established that was in the amendment. The first $40 million of that goes to public school construction. So that's obviously a lot less controversial because it was already in the language of the amendment. The more controversial piece is a sales tax that's set up to 15%, but it starts at 10%, and that's on the retail sale of marijuana.
Alcohol prohibition hurt everybody. Even if you had no intention of ever having a drink in your life, you were still harmed by living in a society where alcohol was prohibited. So we were able to have that argument that prohibition doesn't work. Treat it like alcohol, regulate it like alcohol. The problem is Proposition AA, which is the tax increase, and all these other regulations don't regulate it like alcohol.
What a lot of people don't know and understand about what's happening is they started at like 50% at the legislative session. We negotiated, hemmed and hawed, you know, we tried to get it down as low as possible. We knew that there was going to be a need for some level of taxation to pay for regulations if we were going to pay for our own system. That was sort of the trade-off for having the state move forward in a pretty rapid and robust way.
Amendment 64 allows any adult 21 years old or older to grow 6 plants in their home, in a warehouse. I believe a 15% sales tax plus a 15% excise tax is too high. The consumer will quickly figure out that is a tax that they don't have to pay and they won't be willing to pay it. And then you bring the medical side into it also. Medical marijuana will not be taxed at that 15 plus 15% rate. And Coloradans will probably just not participate so much in the recreational market. It'll become a tourist-only thing, and it won't succeed.
Yeah, it's tough. It's controversial. A lot of people that supported us for 64 don't support us for this. So.
The current regulations are extremely burdensome. I mean, this industry is regulated more tightly than any other industry in Colorado. Examples. In order to own one of these entities, you have to be a 2-year resident of our state.
The residency requirement is the biggest barrier. That's the thing that keeps all the money out. That's the thing that keeps valuations of business down.
There's also a complete moratorium on any new shop statewide opening before October 1st, 2014. So what the state has done is unwisely lock in the medical marijuana industry and all the existing players.
You know, so look, I agree. I don't think that it's appropriate to sort of like play favorites any more than the amendment allows, which it did talk about. Participation in the medical industry gives you a first option really to get in. It's a little bit more nuanced than that, but that's in there, you know, and we put that in there because these people stuck their necks out. Does that mean they should have 5 years or 10 years? No.
And in Denver, which is the leader, we have more dispensaries in Denver than any other municipality in our state. The city council has added 2 years to the moratorium period for new entries, so October 2016.
The industry was trying to protect itself. Absolutely, the industry representatives and their lobbyists, that's what they were doing. But there were a lot of people also just protecting the realm, you know, which is to say that we were trying to make sure that this thing didn't just blow up in our face.
You've got 100,000 licensed patients in Colorado. That is the sum total of the consumer base. You'll have 600,000 regular marijuana consumers once recreational marijuana comes completely online, and that's January 1st of 2014. So these existing shops who can't handle 100,000 are somehow going to be asked to handle 600,000. They won't be able to do it. The prices are already going to climb because of supply and demand. Add taxes to that. So they've created the barriers to entry of taxes, prior felons, 2-year residency.
Again, hindsight 2020, you look at what the Cole memo says, and you're like, okay, look, that gives me more comfort that we can move forward. Does it give me complete comfort that these are widgets now and we can make as many as we want, and if there's overflow and, you know, Oklahoma needs widgets, we should have them go down there? Absolutely not. Like, this is not a free market. It's just simply not.
As far as tourism, that's a conundrum. You know, when you come to Colorado, you ought to be able to enjoy your constitutional rights while you're here. And there was this specific intent behind Amendment 64 to not just apply it to Colorado residents.
And I'm 100% for people coming to Colorado and spending money and renting rooms and going to our restaurants and bars and everything else.
But then the question is, where do these tourists smoke? If they're staying in, you know, a high-end hotel in Aspen, Vail, or Denver, most of these places are non-smoking. You can't smoke it walking down the street. Technically, you're not supposed to smoke on the lift in Vail if it's open in public.
But it's funny, you know, you talk to the city council and other people in there. We don't want to become the Amsterdam of America. And I'm like, have you been to Amsterdam? You know, like one of the crown jewels of Europe, you know? Yeah, sure. Maybe you don't want to be the red light district in Amsterdam of America, but why would you not want people coming here?
The bottom line is we have to have private smoking clubs. We have to have a place where both tourists and Colorado residents can go, congregate, associate with each other, and enjoy their constitutional rights together.
You know, I think it's really important that we be responsible and measured in our rollout. You know, but again, the federal government is getting less and less of a concern because the people of this country obviously think we need to go a different direction, but we still have a long way to go. Anyone who's like overly confident at this point, this is like the worst possible time to be overly confident.